Canada hosts round 7 of the championship, and it's looking to be a rain-affected weekend. Ferrari head into the round hoping for better fortunes after a pointless result last time out in Qatar. The Scuderia have since introduced a raft of upgrades in an attempt to make up for the poor result in the Middle East. McLaren are still waiting for their first win of the season after coming close on multiple occasions so far over the last 6 rounds. And Toyota, meanwhile, are happy with the progress they have made so far this season, having scored some impressive results. However, they are still in search of some consistency in their pace, with their car seemingly seesawing between front running and midfield over a Grand Prix distance. But that is all for the news heading into this weekend, so let's see how the grid will form for the Canadian Grand Prix.
With the race not far away from starting, here's what today's grid rundown looks like. A fantastic effort from Charles Leclerc yesterday, and it's put him on pole, and Lando Norris lines up alongside. Moving on to the rest of the grid, we have Hamilton, Perez, Verstappen, Sainz, Russell, Kobayashi, Gasly, Fernando Alonso, Benjamin, Albon, Tsunoda, Magnussen, Joe, Stroll, Oscar Piastri, Ocon, Bottas, Hulkenberg, Ricciardo, and Logan Sargent. With preparations almost complete, let's head down to the track. Joining me on this very wet day is a woman who very much came prepared. Nice wellies there, Nats. Natalie Pinkham, how would you say the wet weather experience differs between Formula One and perhaps some other forms of racing?
Mastering these conditions is a massive challenge. To cross the line in one piece is no mean feat, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how they handle it.
Hello everyone and welcome to part 7 of our F123 Toyota Road to Glory career mode here for the Canadian Grand Prix, and it is a wet one to get us started here in Canada. Our car has performed alright in the rain so far this season, but it's not been the super quickest car out there, so hopefully we can get through. This is supposed to dry up at some point, as well as Canada just sort of being a track that I seem to gel with quite well, so hopefully we can be on for another good result. We've unfortunately qualified just outside the top 10 in P11 at the moment. Charles Leclerc looking back on form here for Ferrari, he's put it on pole. Lando Norris doing very well in the McLaren as well. Both of those teams have brought a few upgrades to this weekend to try and get themselves another win, especially Ferrari, as was mentioned in the news segment, have had an absolute shocker in the last few rounds, just in terms of luck, really. They've had pace, but just even in last time in Qatar, they scored 0 points, and so, yeah, that was the qualifying result they need. They just now need to convert it to hopefully a good result this time out for them. But here we are, we lined up on the grid, optimal position once again, and we are ready to go for the Grand Prix. So we go to the 5 red lights, and we are eventually underway. We were held for a little bit there, but it's an alright launch. We unfortunately get a little bit of wheel spin, a bit more than I would have liked. You can see still losing it in 4th gear, and we dive it to the inside of Alonso. I lock up the fronts, trying to make sure I don't run up the back of our teammate Kobayashi, who he did very well in qualifying, actually. He qualified in P8. He's down to P9 now as we go around the outside of the Aston Martin of Alonso to get ourselves into P10. So, good start for us. Meanwhile, up ahead, the 2 Red Bulls battling away. Verstappen gets the better of Sergio Perez to put himself in P4. Perez, P5. The Red Bulls have been very quick this season, but very much lacking in the reliability department. And so those guys are going to be hoping for a good result as well. But look how slow we're going through this little snail section here as we just all try to get our bearings on this dry track, this wet track, sorry. It was dry for most practice. We did have a bit of rain, but yeah, it's a bit of fresh territory here with all of us bunched up so close to each other in the wet at Canada, as we have a big moment losing the rear out of the final corner on the first lap, and that's going to allow Fernando Alonso to come back at us now into turn 1. You can see we were trying to keep close with Kobayashi. Unfortunately, the Aston able to throw it down the inside, around the outside, which means you'll have the better traction on exit there with the wider line, and you can see losing it still in 4th gear again, trying to keep it alongside the 2-time champion, and unfortunately he just gets it around the outside into the chicane, and we drop back out of the points into P11, but at the end of lap 2 we've been able to keep it close here, and so we are immediately going to try and get back at Fernando Alonso to the inside of this final chicane, or at least for the first part of the final chicane. Hopefully it should give us the better exit out of the final corner. You can see he actually backs out of it there. He runs over the inside curb, so he's had a horrible exit. Look at that, and that's actually going to allow Alex Albon in the Williams to come through. Yuki Tsunoda and Kevin Magnussen as well also trying to do it. They were 3 wide for a moment there. Albon is through on Alonso. Magnussen Magnussen has been able to pull off a move on Sonoda. While Sonoda was trying to get Alonso, Alonso does hold on to P12 there ahead of Kevin Magnussen. And yeah, that will not be what he's hoping for, losing 2 positions there for the price of 1, really. And now we cut forward a couple laps to the end of lap 5. We are on the back of our teammate once again. I was hoping he'd maybe be challenging Gasly, but he's starting to fall away a bit. And so we're going to try and pull a move off here on our teammate, who hopefully doesn't make it too hard for us. So we can try and see if any more points are possible there. You can see he doesn't do anything super silly there. He backed out of it nice and early, so we were able to get the move done. He didn't compromise his racing line, and so we're through to P9 for now as we look to lap number 6. The track is already drying. You can see Charles Leclerc, Lando Norris, and then Max Verstappen all setting consecutive fastest lap times there. So the track is absolutely drying up, and I'm going to set a personal best here as well at the end of lap number 6. Not a fastest lap, but it was a personal best, so the track should dry soon, as we're going to get a radio message here.
Okay, radar is clear, weather is looking good for now. Inters look like the best tyre for now.
And so Mark confirming there that the rain isn't actually easing, it's actually completely stopped. So it's dry, it's not raining, it's just the track is still a bit damp. And so with the laps coming through, the track should eventually dry up and we should come into the pit lane. You can see Gasly struggling a little bit ahead of us though, and so we're not even going to wait for the long straight. We're going to go for it immediately here on the run to the hairpin, and we're going to try and dive it around the outside, very deep on the brakes. We actually went a bit too deep, bit deeper than I would have liked, so we're right around the outside of the corner. Gasly does momentarily get ahead, but we do get the better exit because of how wide we were, and that is us up into P8 for now. And the track has actually dried up quite quickly as we cut a lap forward here to the end of lap 11. Everyone's going to come into the pit lane. Not everyone. It's not going to be like Silverstone where every single car's coming and we've got all this double stacking. But a large majority of the field is coming into the pit lane. And so we are going onto the slick tyres, the medium compound here. So it should be a 2-stop strategy onto the medium and then at least one other compound. It could even be mediums. We'll just have to see how these tyres last throughout the rest of the Grand Prix. You can see we come out just ahead of Pierre Gasly there. So very good for the guys in the pit lane there to get the tyres on just in time before the Alpine came through. He did close up on us though. So Alpine with a slightly better pit stop that time around. Doesn't really matter in the end though as we come out onto a drying track. And you can see here's a slight difference in tyres. You can see Valtteri Bottas in the Alfa Romeo on the Inters. George Russell in the Mercedes on the mediums is going to go for a move here straight away out of the pit lane into the hairpin on the inside of the Alfa Romeo. He's also got Sergio Perez in the Red Bull behind on the slicks, and George Russell does get that move done as we now cut forward to lap 14. So everyone by now has made the pit stop onto the slicks. So it's Leclerc leading the way there for Ferrari. Very good for those guys. Hamilton sits second for Mercedes. Norris doing very well in P3 in the McLaren. Verstappen sits P4 ahead of the second Ferrari of Carlos Sainz in P5. So Ferrari, this is the sort of thing that they want to be right up there in the points. Russell sits P6 just ahead of Sergio Perez. Then myself in P8 once all of the order has been worked out. So a good few points to our name at the moment if things stay as it is. Gasly just behind us in 9th still. Albon rounds out the top 10 there for Williams, doing very well. Kobayashi, our teammate, in P11. So hopefully he can potentially go for a move on Alex and get himself into the points-paying position. As we look ahead, there are a couple more laps. Lando Norris going for a move on Lewis Hamilton, the 7-time champion, for P2 here in Canada. We've seen the McLarens have become very quick over the course of this season, especially Lando with a bit more of experience, and he gets the move done on Lewis Hamilton to get himself up into P2. Verstappen also takes advantage of Hamilton's poor momentum to get into P3, and in fact is going to even go for Lando Norris here to get himself onto the second step of the podium, but he's not quite able to get it done. And so for now, it's just Hamilton has lost 2 positions for the price of 1 there. Meanwhile, at the same time as all that, Kobayashi going for a move on Alex Albon, just like we said we'd hope he would, to get himself into the points-paying position. So the inside of turn 2, outside of turn 3, which should give him the better exit against the Williams as they head up the hill towards the downhill chicane. He's going to go around the outside, just like Alonso did to us earlier on in the Grand Prix, and he gets the move done up into P10. So good to see our teammate in the points-paying position as well, as we now cut to lap number 18. You can see Lando Norris actually has the fast lap of the Grand Prix, and here comes Pierre Gasly down our inside into the chicane. We're going to let him go ahead and have the poor exit through the corner. We're going to pull back alongside here onto the Alpine.
Okay, copy that.
And unfortunately, he's just going to pull back ahead there with a bit more straight line speed there, and we're just sort of running very low on battery as we cut to lap 19 now. We're going to try and come back at him with the help of DRS. We're still very low on battery though, unfortunately. The battery just doesn't seem to be lasting around here as we let him once again have a poor exit, and so we're going to cut back on him here on the exit towards lap number 20 now. We're going to be alongside him. Kobayashi also looking to get amongst this. Can he potentially get himself into P9? We get the move done on the Alpine. Kobayashi pulls himself alongside Pierre Gasly here around the outside of turn 3, just like he did on Alex Albon a few laps ago, and he gets the move done into P9. So good to see Kobayashi has that fight inside of him there, and hopefully he can now just sort of follow us around in the DRS, and we can try and, well, I was going to say close on the next car, but that's Perez in the Red Bull. So really, I'd say P8, P9 is the positions we're trying to consolidate here. We're sort of the best of the rest at the moment, as Gasly actually finds himself under a bit of pressure from Alex Albon, who's going to try and go for a move here. We haven't seen any moves in this into this corner yet, and Albon's going to get it done around the outside of the first part, although Gasly comes back through the second part, gets the move done. That's going to invite a Fernando Alonso in the Aston Martin to now go for a move on the Williams. So this big concertina effect sort of happening, this big domino effect even happening, where everyone's trying to get a move done on each other and just hurting themselves and then getting attacked, as Albon does eventually hold on to the position ahead of Fernando Alonso as we now cut to lap 22. So just another couple laps later, Kobayashi in the DRS. Just like I said, I was hoping. What I wasn't hoping was that Kobayashi would come flying past us like it wasn't even a competition there into the final chicane. So he gets himself up into P8. I'm now P9, and I am now tasked with trying to defend from Pierre Gasly, who's going to try and come at us there. He backs out of it eventually, but you can see it's now our pit window to pit onto another set of medium tyres here at the end of lap 23. And at the end of lap 23, that's exactly what we're going to do. You can see we're still within DRS of Kobayashi. He's going to continue on for one more lap, then pit. But we are going to pit this time out. Same two is Pierre Gasly and Fernando Alonso, I believe, just in behind us. No, it's Alex Albon. Fernando's continued for one more lap as we cut to the end of our pit stop period. We do get the out ahead of the Alpine still. It was the exact same pit stop time, 2.4 seconds, as it was in the first. So consistency there from the boys in pit lane. We exit in what is currently P16, but obviously at least half the field still has to come in to do their second pit stop because no one's going to make it to the end from when we all came in for the Inters. You can see here on the next lap, Lando Norris exiting the pit lane. Remember, he was in second. He's now dropped down to fourth there after getting undercut by those guys. So he's now down to P4. He just gets out ahead of Carlos Sainz in the Ferrari, and he's going to be a bit annoyed with that McLaren strategy that's dropped him a couple positions, and I'm sure we'll see some more battles to come from him in the coming laps. But this was at the same time as all that. Here comes Pierre Gasly on us onto lap 26 to our inside. He actually gets it done quite easily there. He comes across us in the braking zone as well to make sure we can't re-overtake him there through the sort of snail section, turns 1, 2, 3. As we cut to the end of lap 27, so just a lap and a bit later, we are going to come back at the Alpine here with the help of DRS. We've got no battery. Gasly goes defensive, so we're going to try and pull it up around the outside, inside for the second part of the chicane. We get the move done, and that's going to hurt Gasly's momentum onto this straight. As you can see, Alex Albon in the Williams coming alongside him there. He gets himself into P9. He actually tries to get down our inside as well for P8, but we do hold on there to 8th place. Albon gets into P9, although actually Gasly comes back at him out of turn 3. He holds on to it, so Gasly very determined to stay at the front of this little battle pack here. And so for now, he's into P9. I'm sure he'll come back at us again soon. Meanwhile, as I was saying, I'm sure we'd see more from Lando. It's a little mistake from Max Verstappen there on the exit of the final corner. So here comes Lando Norris now to go for a move around the outside of turn 2. Gets it done on the Red Bull, back into the podium places, and he's now tasked with trying to chase down Lewis Hamilton, the 7-time champion, just like he did earlier on in the Grand Prix, to get back into second place. And then from there, can he even chase down Charles Leclerc? We'll have to see, but already, look how much he's closed down that gap on Lewis Hamilton. He's completely taken off on Verstappen, and now he's right on the back of Lewis Hamilton, who have DRS down this back straight here. And look at the closing speed of that McLaren. He's got some incredible pace at this stage here in the closing stages of the Grand Prix. We're about 7 laps left to go, and he's already all over the rear wing of the Mercedes. In fact, he's not even going to wait for the DRS straight. He's going to go straight forward here into the braking zone of the hairpin around the outside of the 7-time world champion, the Brit on the Brit. Gets the move done around the outside, and he's also going to have some DRS just for good measure to try and help defend there from Lewis Hamilton. So some great stuff there on lap 28 for Lando Norris. Meanwhile, on lap 29, Gasly flies past us there. We have a bit of a worn engine. I used some worn out components here in this Grand Prix because it's not a super power reliant track. Unfortunately, there are these couple straights where power is sort of a bit helpful, and as you can see there, Albon in that Williams just flies completely past us. We didn't even have a slight opportunity to come back at him here. I try through turn 3, but he comes back across us on the exit, and so unfortunately 2 spots gone there. We're back down to P10, the final points paying position, under attack from Fernando Alonso, as we now look here on lap 30 on board with George Russell, who's looking to get a move done on Sergio Perez, but he's not going to have to because it's an engine failure for Sergio Perez in the Red Bull. That's been the main story of the season. The unreliability of that Red Bull power unit has just been crazy. I swear, every single round this season, 7 rounds in, they have had some sort of issue, whether it's a retirement or just some sort of engine issue that slowed him down. You can see there he is on the right-hand side. That's going to be a free position for us, though. So I'm not going to complain. We're back into P9 for now. Alonso behind us in 10th. We're also going to see if we can potentially go for a move on Albon to get back into P8, and then eventually Gasly, who's now into P7. We're not able to get it done this time round, but as we cut forward a lap now to the end of lap 31, start of lap 32, again, the straight line speed of that Williams is crazy, not even because of the power unit, but the slipperiness of that Williams has just been crazy against everyone all weekend. And so we're going to have to try and go for a move in an unorthodox spot, and we do it here on the exit of turn 3. We just get some nice traction and pull ahead before we even get to the chicane there. And so that's us back into P8 for now. And we're going to be looking to go for a move on Pierre Gasly on the same lap here. At the end of lap 32, we are all over the back of the Frenchman as we head down the back straight. 3 laps to go here in this Canadian Grand Prix. We pulled a little bit of a gap on Albon. We're going to go to the outside of Pierre Gasly into the final chicane there. Is he going to try and hold it? Yes, he does, but we just get him in the braking zone. And so we get ourselves up into P7 for now. We're not closing into the guys ahead. You can see Russell's the next car ahead in P6, and he's got nearly 20 seconds on us, as Alex Albon actually going for a move on Pierre Gasly into the Alpine there. So Alex determined to get himself a couple more points, but not quite able to do it. Gasly once again defending there from the Williams, as we now cut to lap 33, a little bit further on here. So just a few corners later than that, actually. Fernando Alonso in the Aston Martin going for a move around the outside here on Alex Albon. Albon, though, trying to come back at him here. They're going to go side by side into the hairpin with just a couple laps to go after this. Who's going to get the position? Alonso, the 2-time champion, or Alex Albon in his sort of return to F1 and trying to prove himself after getting dropped by Red Bull in his earlier seasons. Alonso does come on top for now. However, Albon in that very slippery Williams is going to come straight back at him here into the final chicane. Who's going to come out on top this time? It is Albon who holds on to P9. This is a great scrap for the final 2 points paying positions in this Grand Prix as we now cut forward to the final lap. It is going to be Charles Leclerc to win here for his first win, Ferrari's first win since the first round in Australia. So that's the result they needed. Sainz in P5 as well. So very good, strong result there for those guys for the Scuderia. But it's not over for us yet. We still have just under half a lap to go. And Gasly coming back at us here into the final hairpin. We'll get the better exit and get ahead from having that outside line. However, that means we now have to spend these next 2 straights defending like crazy if we want to hold that Alpine behind us. Here we go. We've got barely any battery left. Here comes Gasly to the inside of the final chicane. I'm going to hold it around the outside, and we do hold position there. And so it should be a P7. But Gasly now has to worry about Alonso. Unfortunately for Alonso, he's not quite able to get it. But it is a great P7 for us here in Canada.
Okay, pick up rubber and bring it home.
A truly magnificent drive and a great performance from the entire team to secure victory here in Canada. Natalie Pinkham, how do you think they were able to set themselves apart today?
I feel consistency was probably the key today. There's being quick, and then there's being quick lap after lap after lap. If you can do that, you can capitalise on other people's errors without making many of your own. And that's an approach that can push you a long way up the field.
Looking at the podium, you can see that red suit familiar to fans across the globe. A world-class win for a world-class team. Ferrari, do it again.
So here we are with the results for the Canadian Grand Prix. Charles Leclerc with a great win and return to glory there for Ferrari ahead of Lando Norris, who finishes in P2. It's Lewis Hamilton there that rounds out the podium positions. Verstappen 4th, Sainz also doing good result there for Ferrari in P5, Russell 6th, and myself in P7, so glad to get some more points under our belt there. Gasly 8th, Alonso 9th, Albon rounds out the points. Unfortunately, with the strategy there for Kobayashi, he just wasn't quite in a good position, got undercut quite a lot, and so he ends up in P11. A good result for him either way, with just the way it all turned out there. The undercut was very strong this weekend. Hamilton holds his lead in the championship by 34 points. No matter what happens next round, he will hold that championship lead. The worst it can come to, really, is 1 point ahead of George Russell. Carlos Sainz, P3 there for Ferrari, the lead Ferrari in the championship, but very far away from the driver's standings. It's myself in P8 at the moment on 47 points, with a nice gap to Oscar Piastri behind and a big gap ahead to Sergio Perez, so we seem to be sort of consolidated in that position at the moment. In terms of the constructors, Mercedes lead the way by a massive 91 points. They're looking very, very strong here at the moment. Their car seems to have lost a little bit of performance this time out in Canada, as everyone else brought some upgrades, but either way, that gap is very big, and it's going to take a lot to bring them down. For ourselves, P5, a very nice gap over Aston, a massive gap ahead to McLaren, very much similar to my standings in the driver standings, where we've sort of got a bit of space either side of us. We are a bit more under threat from Aston Martin than we are a threat to McLaren, though, so just trying to consolidate that P5 to have a nice finish in the constructor standings. But yeah, that is all for this video, guys. If you have enjoyed, please make sure to leave a like and subscribe if you want to see more content like this in the future, and I'll see you all in the next one. Goodbye.